Okay, great.
Either one.
Let's try. Hey, I'm Collin Kelly.
And I'm Jackson Lanzing.
And you're at?
Oh, I see how this is supposed to work.
Comicsonline.com.
Comicsonline.com.
I made a decision.
No, let's try it. No,
Okay, great.
It's good. Yeah, let's do it again.
And action.
Okay, so we finally get to talk Star Trek Comic-Con 2024. First of all, obviously there's some big news that's going to be coming out. Congratulations on the deal with Paramount being extended.
Thank you.
We're very excited for you guys to get to do more of your wonderful work with Star Trek.
Oh, thank you so much. Honestly, we never really felt like it was going to be in doubt. The books have been so well received by the press and by the fans, especially, and by Star Trek readers, sort of across the board. I think between that and now 2 years of Eisner nominations, it just feels like Star Trek's on a roll in comics, and IDW's been such an excellent shepherd of the brand, especially Heather Antos, who just lives and breathes this now. And it feels like cutting us off right now would have been really pulling things in midstream that just didn't need to. So I really feel like everybody was on board to continue the plan, because we've always had a plan. The plan extends, well beyond this year. We wanted to make sure that we could all extend that plan and really make sure that it got to land it. So it's really exciting for us now, because now effectively the way is clear, the warp drive's engaged. Now we just get to tell the stories and go as hard as we can.
And the neat thing is, all the people, all of the suits over there are also just massive nerds. They are the ones who also love our books. So I'm sure it's, there's a marketing, there's a financial side to it too. But the cool thing is, all of them just love it and want more.
Yeah.
So when you can impress your corporate bosses, you're doing something right.
Well, so let's talk about the wanting more. You guys got to do something since we last spoke. Mm-hmm. You got to bring in Liam Shaw into the comics.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that a little bit, and getting to bring. Obviously, we're all friends and fans of Todd Stashwick.
Yeah.
But getting to bring in Shaw. Let's talk about how that came to be.
Well, so I mean, in some ways, you know this story about as well as anybody. You introduced us to Todd Stashwick.
I wasn't fishing, but
no, I mean we have a lot of mutual friends, and we all live in LA. We all play RPGs, so. If I can throw a rock and hit somebody in LA who knows Todd Stashwick, but every time I'm like, will you introduce me? No one ever does. So you were awesome.
Thank you for having the bravery and the courage.
Yeah, to actually introduce us to Todd. And within about 5 minutes of talking to Todd, we were talking about what the character could be like and how it could fit into the book. And because you're saying we're using something from everywhere. And Liam Shaw was such an immediately exciting character on Picard 3. He immediately became a fan favorite. I certainly wanted as much of that character as I could get. And so as we were talking to him, even there, he was like, well, I had some ideas about what it could be, but I don't know, and this and that, and we were sort of talking about it, and I said, honestly, we've got a space right here in issue 19 of Star Trek. There's a moment, or issue 20, where we knew that in issue 20, we were gonna have a space for some character to help them rebuild the Theseus. The Theseus was going to need to get retrofit to break into the Pleroma, the realm of the gods, get to a place where Q and the Tholians and everybody else can sit down and have a discussion about the nature of reality. And we were going to break in and crash their party. And so we knew the Theseus had to do that, and to do that we had to bake in a character who could fundamentally refit the Theseus to do that. And what's the one thing we know about Shaw? He has a background in engineering. He comes from there. He comes from that trauma. He doesn't have the sort of hero worship of these characters that we sort of assume that a character might have.
He has a very specific relationship with Benjamin Sisko's legacy, though not the man.
Yeah.
So it's was obviously had a lot of crunchy emotional weight for it. But then keeping in mind that Shaw is so taciturn, right? There's actually a lot of mirroring between him and Sisko in terms of all of the professionalism and, a feeling that they keep simmering under the surface. And then they both can kind of be jerks, which is wonderful, right?
Yeah, so it was a really exciting opportunity to say, okay, there's this really nice little hole in the network. We'd had a different character planned for it, but we kind of felt like we were having to bend the character to get them there. And this felt much more natural and felt like a great way for us to take, again, something from Picard, something that's present, something that just happened, and show you how it connects back to the legacy of Star Trek, which is always what we're trying to do in Flagship and in Defiant and in Sons of Star Trek and in all of our events and in everything that we do on this. We're trying to make sure that if you have only ever watched one season of one show once, that you can come into Star Trek and that there'll be something there for you, that there will be something that you recognize, something that you like, and then be surrounded with this stuff that, because we love all of it, that will convince you to like. We'll show you why Spock is awesome if you don't know Spock. If you don't love Scotty, we'll get you into Scotty. But if you've only ever seen Picard 3, Shaw's right there.
There's your guy, buddy.
Yeah, you have a frame to start thinking about.
That montage of the ship getting retrofit was incredible, and I do think
Megan nailed that, right? Megan
perfect.
Levins, man, just absolute rock star on that series.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think anything could like touch how that came out. You know, it was just perfection. But I think the retrofit itself is a beautiful design. Like I loved the original design, but it feels next level, but it feels organic as far as the development. As far as your thoughts with that, you know, how did that shape out? Was it something you had planned long term that it would still evolve as the ship, the needs of the ship would change over time?
Yeah, I mean, that was always the fundamental core premise of the Theseus was that it is a constantly evolving ship, right? Just like its namesake, it's meant to be constantly changing and upgrading and always still remaining the core of what it is. So that was Scotty's dream for the project. So we always knew we wanted to realign with that original dream. So we always knew that developing this ship, letting it grow, letting it evolve was going to be key to the story. And then I remember we had, some very specific ideas on the page, and then Megan came back and was like, I have different ideas. And we were like, your ideas are fucking rad, right? So it was like really visual collaboration between all of us in order to create a ship that was really unique and a really cool evolution.
I think one of the things that was exciting about Megan's approach is that she's a big fan of the 09 films. She really likes how the starships sort of play out in that more like liquid, almost like organic design that you get out of the 09 Enterprise. And so she felt like this was a really great opportunity to take some of that design sense and bring it into the Theseus and show how the Theseus can sit across the whole of Star Trek. Again, just a thing we're always looking for. How can this one thing represent everything to everyone? And I think that the additions of the sort of gold detailing, the additions of a much more like swoopy nacelle, and then the elongating of the nacelle, which is the thing that we've been actually after since the very first design. I felt like I was always pushing Ramon to draw her longer. To be like, make the ship longer. And eventually I think Megan really took that to heart and was like, yeah, okay, long ship. Let's go.
Last question. Star Trek 500.
Yeah.
What can we tease? Obviously, you have your panel, but we're very excited about what the future holds for events. And I know that there's an unnamed thing in the future, but what can you share with our viewers?
Well, I think we can say, as you just said, events.
Yeah, Star Trek is heading towards, last year we had Day of Blood, which was our big, now Eisner-nominated event. Eisner-nominated for Shax's Best Day, which is insane to me. I'm so psyched. But we had the first ever crossover event for Star Trek. When we thought we did it, we were like, great, we'll never top this. This is the thing. And then we got done with it, and we all looked at each other and said, okay, now what, right? What comes next is the now what. It's the thing that we've been planning for since Day of Blood. In fact, since before Day of Blood, but certainly since Day of Blood, we've been looking at how all of the decisions that both books have made, that Sons has made, how all of this stuff can fit together into something that feels cumulative and culminative, something that really rewards all of the time you've spent, not just with Flagship, but with the whole Star Trek line. And that's really what we're going to be embracing on this second event, which people will get their first taste of, very much a first taste of. It's maybe more of a taste than people expect.
A whole mouthful.
It's a whole mouthful in Star Trek 500, which is also a really lovely full circle moment for us, incidentally, because our very first look at Flagship, at this whole line that's now began in Star Trek 400. So in Star Trek 400, we had the beginning of the death of Gary Mitchell, right? We had Gary Mitchell's like last big apotheosis, where he gets to see what humanity will become, and then K-Less rolls in and kills him with the orb of destruction, right? And that was the beginning of everything. Now we're returning to that story, and I think as people read Star Trek 500, they're going to see a bunch of direct echoes between that story in 400 and this story in 500 that will show you how we have been building this and why we've been building this all the way back 100 issues before, right? It's an incredible thing to get to this point and now be able to pay off things that we, in a million years, didn't think we could have before. It's a joy, and I can't wait for people to see it. Also, 500 is just filled with cool shit.
Yeah. 500 itself is absolutely amazing.
Patton Oswalt's in our book. Are you kidding me? That's insane.
Every Star Trek fan should absolutely go out and pick up 500 and then fall in love with all those stories and then work their way forward and backwards through the entire line. I told you to do it.
We also have to give credit to IDW's editing team. The hardcovers have been gorgeous.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
So kudos.
IDW collections teams, it just
Yeah.
absolutely ripped. Thank you guys. You're incredible.
IDW, top to bottom, is filled with rock stars, and we love working with them, and we love how they've shepherded this franchise forward, as we mentioned.
You just have to do the mic. No. Wonder Twin Towers.
We have to pass it.
Yes.
Yeah, he knows. He's got it.
It's never a dull moment with you guys. Oh.